Janet Echelman is a phenomenal artist that I'm very excited to share with you all. She is an American sculptor and fiber artist. Her sculptures have been displayed as public art, often as site-specific installations. She was born in Tampa, Florida in 1966 and graduated from Harvard University in 1987. Post-grad, Echelman traveled to Hong Kong on a Rotary International Fellowship to study Chinese brush painting and calligraphy. She later returned to Harvard as an artist in residence in 1997 and was given an old squash court to use as her studio. Since then, she has created her sculptures all over the world, both in museums and for the public to enjoy outside. Janet Echelman sculpts at the scale of buildings and city blocks. Her work defies categorization as it intersects sculpture, architecture, urban design, material science, structural and aeronautical engineering, and computer science. Echelman's art transforms with wind and light and shifts from being an object you look at into an experience that you can get lost in. Here is the aforementioned piece that AJ and Jacques recently saw at the Renwick Gallery in Washington, D.C. This piece is inspired by data recorded March 11th, 2011, following the Tohoku earthquake and tsunami that rippled across the Pacific Ocean towards Japan. The geologic event was so powerful that it shifted the Earth on its axis and shortened the day by 1.8 millionths of a second, lending this work its title, 1.8. This particular piece can actually be transported and installed for other exhibitions in other locations, for example, London and San Diego. After being artist in residence at Harvard, she returned to Asia, embarking on a Fulbright lectureship in India, promising to give painting exhibitions around the country on behalf of the U.S. Embassy. Echelman shipped her special paints and equipment to an Indian fishing village famous for sculpture. And the deadline for the shows arrived, but her paints did not, unfortunately. So Echelman had to figure out what to do, and she was inspired by the local materials and culture and began working with bronze casters in the village, but soon found the material to be too heavy and too expensive. So she walked along the beach daily, watching the fishermen bundling their nets into mounds on the sand. And she'd seen it every day, but this time she saw it differently, a new approach to sculpture, a way to make volumetric form without heavy, solid materials. Her secret is patience. The 145-foot-tall aerial sculpture in Phoenix, Arizona, is a civic icon hailed for contributing to the revitalization of downtown Phoenix. Suspended above the two-city block Civic Space Park, the sculpture is monumental yet soft. It's fixed in place, but it's constantly in motion. It dances gently in the air, choreographed by the flux of desert winds. During the day, the sculpture hovers high above heads, treetops, and buildings. And the sculpture creates what she calls shadow drawings, which she says are inspired by Phoenix's cloud shadows that captivated her from the first site visit. At night, seen here, the illumination changes color gradually through the seasons. The goal in selecting the colors is to provide residents with some small climate relief through color, adding cool hues in the summer and warmer tones in the winter. Okay, I mean, look at how cool this one is. Water Sky Garden transforms the plaza surrounding the Richmond Olympic Oval, which was the official venue for the 2010 Vancouver Winter Olympics speed skating events. And it's a permanent art environment for the community. Echelman's design engages the space all around the viewer, water, sky, and these pedestrian pathways to create this immersive piece using rock, wood, water, air bubble fountains, steel, of course, netting, and light. And these pathways that you can see in the photo lead pedestrians around and through the art piece. Skies Painted with Unnumbered Sparks is an aerial sculpture created for the TED Conference's 30th anniversary in March 2014, suspended between the Vancouver Convention Center and a 30-story building. For this piece, Echelman collaborated with the Google Creative Labs director of the Data Arts team, Aaron Coblin. And the sculpture spanned 740 feet, and viewers were actually able to connect to the lighting program and interact with the sculpture with their smartphones. Earth Time 1.26 was created just after the 2010 Chile earthquake, when she learned of NASA data that measured the effects of the earthquake on the planet. The vibrations momentarily sped up the Earth's rotation, shortening the length of the day by 1.26 microseconds, kind of similar to 1.8 at Renwick. This became the catalyst for the artwork, and her studio collaborated with a team of brilliant engineers, lighting designers, computer scientists, and architects to create the work, which is the first in Echelman's Earth Time series. This installation at the Marina Bay Sands in Singapore, shown here, is actually the fourth exhibition of this particular piece. And the sculpture takes on new meaning with each installation as different cities bring new context to the Earth Time 1.26 story. Developing a different color palette for each installation allows Echelman to express a desired mood and context specific to the location. Echelman was selected to design an iconic sculpture to anchor the LeBauer City Park in downtown Greensboro, North Carolina. The monumental sculpture is composed of 35 miles of technical fibers crafted into 242,800 knots. They search for an artist to give visual form to the history of Greensboro and the textile tradition of North Carolina. And obviously here is a picture you can see of President Clinton giving a speech underneath the sculpture. Here's some photos of how she conceptualizes and creates her mesmerizing pieces. She starts on paper using different colors, textiles, and mediums, and then moves on to 3D models to see how the larger sculptures will eventually take shape and form. Here's her most recent piece called Current in Columbus, Ohio, and it weaves together threads, or twine, I should say, of local history as it connects Columbus's urban street grid with its river waterfront to create a tapestry expressing the city's unique history. Echelman is a recipient of a Guggenheim Fellowship and was named an Architectural Digest 2012 Innovator for, quote, changing the very essence of urban spaces. Echelman's artwork has been reviewed in the New York Times, Newsweek, Time, and she also serves on the Harvard Board of Overseers. Thanks, everyone, and I'll see you next week.